Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Andrew Destin alongside Logan Bourandas and JC Colavita, and we'll be talking about some of the frontrunners for Major League Baseball's most prestigious awards. Now, last year, a pair of first basemen took home the awards in the National League and the American League in Freddie Freeman of the Atlanta Braves as well as Jose Abreu of the Chicago White Sox. Logan, I'll turn to you first. Who do you expect to win the award this year for each league?
Yeah, so in the AL, I'm going to go really basic here, JC. It might be really boring, but I'm going to have to go Mike Trout of the LA Angels. Now, Mike Trout, he's been a guy who's been consistently in the top 3 for MVP in the AL, but he came in 5th last year. He won his 3rd MVP in 2019, but he has a lot to prove in the league this year. He had a really solid year last year, but he kind of went unnoticed with Jose Abreu putting up really good numbers for the White Sox. He put up his usual numbers for an Angels team that's never been competitive throughout most of his career, even with Anthony Rendon going to the Angels. So I think Mike Trout, he'll come out with this season with a bang, as you can't really trust a lot of these guys in the AL in a full 162-game season. We don't know what Jose Abreu can do. Aaron Judge has always been injured at some point in a full season. Then Jose Ramirez, he could be traded by midseason. So Mike Trout's the one guy I can really trust right now. And then moving into the NL, I'm talking about a guy who's also came in 5th in the MVP voting. I'm talking about Juan Soto of the Washington Nationals. So Soto started out the year with a COVID pause. He was out for most of the season at the start, but he came back and he was tearing the baseball apart. Had a high average, and he was really hitting the baseball well, had one of his better seasons, and he's really been improving bit by bit every single year. His first year in 2019 had a really good year, and then 2020 had a good year as well, and then 2021 I expect him to take that next step and win that MVP. And Soto, he's on a bad Nationals team in my opinion, and he's going to get all the attention as Anthony Rendon left them, and he got a lot of attention last year. So I think Soto is ready to take the next step. Even in an NL that kind of has a lot of young talent, guys like Acuna, Tatis, I think that Juan Soto has the talent to really stand up out of those guys.
So for me in the AL, I'm going to go in a little bit different direction than you did. I'm going to take Matt Chapman, third baseman for the Oakland A's. So Matt Chapman, as you can see here, he's a stellar defender. He won a Gold Glove and a Platinum Glove. Now, he was teammates with Nolan Arenado in high school, so it looks like he learned a little bit. So in 2018 and 2019, he did finish in the top 10 in the MVP voting. In 2019, he was an all-star. He hit 36 home runs. But his problem has been strikeouts. And especially last year, where his season was shortened, he had a lot of strikeouts in that shortened 60-game season, but he was also injured. His injury, he had a hip labrum injury, and that really hindered him. But this year, he's supposed to come back very healthy, and I think he can lead the A's to a 2nd straight division title. Now, like I said, he's cut down on his strikeouts, but I think he's capable of hitting those 40 home runs season, and I think he can lead the A's lineup that lost Marcus Semien and a bullpen that lost Liam Hendricks. I think he can help the A's a lot, and him being healthy will help him extremely into being that MVP. So, like you said about Ronald Acuna Jr., I think he's my pick for the NL MVP. I think the Braves have back-to-back MVPs on their hands. Acuna in 2019 had a great season. He had 41 home runs, over 100 RBIs, and he led the league in stolen bases with 37. He's the ideal 5-tool player. The Venezuelan is also a stellar defender. He's very overlooked at that position, and he's one of the best defensive outfielders in the league. And I think the Braves, many people aren't really predicting them to do well this year, and I don't see why. They were a game away from the World Series last year. I think they can come back with a lineup filled with Freddie Freeman and Ozzie Albies and Marcell Ozuna. I think that Ronald Acuna Jr. can spearhead that lineup and lead them to the playoffs.
Neither of you guys picking first baseman, but it's rare for a pitcher to win the MVP, so we'll show a little bit of love to the guys who towed the rubber. A pair of Ohio teams last year, they trotted out some Cy Young Award winners. The Cleveland Indians had Shane Bieber. Meanwhile, Cincinnati Reds had Trevor Bauer. Now Bauer's in the National League with the Los Angeles Dodgers, but JC, who from the AL and the NL are going to secure the pitcher's most prized award?
Well, Andrew, I think that Trevor Bauer's new teammate, Walker Buehler, will be the Cy Young Award winner this year. He's only 26 years old. Now, he only made 3 starts in 2020. He had, after the season restarted, he had a lot of blister problems, and that really hindered him being able to pitch this year. But I think last year he was an all-star. 2019 he was an all-star. He finished top 10 in the Cy Young voting. He had 200 strikeouts with a 3.26 ERA. That's really, really big for him. He has a great fastball, regularly hits the upper 90s, a devastating 12-6 curveball with a ton of vertical movement, and not to mention he has a slider and a cutter that are both great for out pitches. He is in a star-studded rotation right now. He'll only be the 3rd starter behind Kershaw and Trevor Bauer. But I think he will be the 4th player to have a Cy Young by season's end because they do have David Price in that rotation. I think he'll lead the Dodgers back to the World Series. And for the AL, I have Chicago White Sox standout Lucas Giolito. Now, Lucas, he really couldn't find his way in the MLB for his first 3 seasons. He was on the White Sox for his rookie year. He couldn't really hack it. His ERA was above 5.5 for those years, and his WHIP was above 1.5. But in 2019 and 2018, he really found his style. He has an upper 90s fastball, just like Walker Buehler, great 12-6 movement again. These guys are similar pitchers, but I think Lucas Giolito has the mojo. He even threw a no-hitter last year. He led the White Sox. I think the White Sox are going to be very competitive. They've overtaken the Twins in that division. I think that he'll lead them to a Cy Young season and another playoff berth. I think they can make it pretty far because of him.
Yeah, and that was a great no-hitter as well, but I'm gonna be a homer here. As much as I hate to say it, I'm gonna go for my NL pick. I'm gonna go Jacob deGrom of the New York Mets, and he's been one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher, in the MLB today. And he won back-to-back Cy Youngs in 2018, 2019. 2020 he came in 3rd, but that's just because he had a pretty bad second half of that season. But I think Jacob deGrom's going to come out for this season with a vengeance. And the Mets, they got better defensively behind him. They got Francisco Lindor to fill in at shortstop, and he's been one of the better defensive shortstops in the game. Then they also got James McCann at catcher, and he's been not a great defensive catcher, but Wilson Ramos was horrendous defensively for the Mets. So getting any other replacement for Ramos is going to be an upgrade for the Mets. And now deGrom, he's on a really solid Mets team, and he's been one of the best pitchers in the game. He's even gotten better in spring training, if some reports have said. So I like deGrom in the NL, but in the AL, it's a very different story for me, as I'm going to go with a choice that you probably don't see every day. Tyler Glasnow of the Tampa Bay Rays. Now look at this face. If you don't know him yet, you will by the season's end. Glasnow is the new ace in the Tampa Bay Rays rotation. Blake Snell got traded to the San Diego Padres, so that means this man right here is the new ace for the Padres, and now for the Rays, excuse me. But Glasnow, he had a over 4 ERA last year, but the Rays are known for changing pitchers' careers. Charlie Morton, it happened to him a couple years ago, and then Chris Archer, sorry Pirates fans, it happened to him too, gave him great value to be traded to the Pirates, and now he's back. But the Rays are just known for just revitalizing pitchers. They always have one of the nastiest bullpens in the MLB, and I think Glasnow, he's been in Tampa Bay for a while now. He's been learning under that Rays system for a while now. I like his chances this year for the Cy Young race.
Neither of you guys expecting any repeats from the AL or NL, but it wouldn't be a new season if we didn't talk about some new faces coming into the fold. Kyle Lewis was a big addition last year for the Seattle Mariners, while Devin Williams was excellent all season long in relief for the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, obviously, neither of these players qualify for the awards this year, but Logan, who should we look out to boost their team's performance in their first year in the big leagues this year?
Yeah, I'm going to go with an overseas pick. Ha-Seong Kim coming over to the San Diego Padres, coming from the KBO. He's been there for all of his career so far professionally, but he was given a 4-year, $28 million contract with the Padres. So he'll immediately start at second base, which, if you figured it out yet, he will be forming a double play combo with Fernando Tatis Jr., one of the best rising young players in the game today. But Kim, he is one of the better contact hitters, or was in the KBO, had a 300 or better average in his last 2 seasons there, and he was a standout at second base defensively, had a Gold Glove in his last 3 years there. But Kim, he will be one of those rookies that'll have an instant impact to their team and to a Padres team that really could use that extra oomph to really compete with the Dodgers. I think he'll be an immediate impact for this Padres team. And then moving over to the AL, I'm going to go with Nate Pearson of the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, Pearson, he had a lick of the show last year and didn't play too well. Had a 6 ERA in a few starts, but he is known for his electrifying stuff. Had a really hot fastball, had a 100-mile-an-hour fastball clock in the wild card series against the Tampa Bay Rays. But the Blue Jays are in a position where they need Pearson to show up because they improved their offense a lot. George Springer, Marcus Semien coming in from free agency along with a young core that they have. But the bullpen is really just Hyunjin Ryu, who came in second in the Cy Young voting last year. And then Nate Pearson's expected to be a guy who takes a huge step this season. He's considered a top 10 prospect in the MLB at number 10. But Pearson, if he can have a solid season with the Blue Jays, then they can be a serious contender with the Yankees and the Rays for the AL East.
So my pick for the AL, I'm going to start off with that. I think Casey Mize is going to have a great season this year. He was the first overall pick by the Tigers in that 2018 draft out of Auburn. He's 23 years old, and he didn't really do well in 2020. He went 0-3. His ERA was just under 7, but I really think he can bounce back. He has a fastball that sits around 94 and cutter and a splitter that with a lot of horizontal movement that can get guys out. He mixes speeds well. He's going to be the lone bright spot for the Tigers this year. Sorry, Tigers fans. You guys really don't have much to cheer for other than maybe Miguel Cabrera reaching a few milestones. But I think he could spark the resurgence in their organization. They can build around him the way they built around Justin Verlander in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I think the Tigers could come back as an organization now. He was the number 7 overall on the top prospects list in 2020, and I really think he can live up to his potential and win that Rookie of the Year. And I'm staying with pitchers here. You got to be a homer. I'm going to get to be a homer right now. I think Spencer Howard is going to go off this year. Again, I think this is common with these rookies that we're picking. They did not really do well in their first experience in the major leagues. Now, Spencer Howard was 1-2 with an ERA just under 5. And the second rounder out of Cal Poly, he is one of the Phillies' top prospects. He's number 1 behind Alec Boehm. Again, his fastball sits around 94. He's got a great 12-6. I think again, you need to be able to throw multiple pitches in the MLB, and I think Spencer Howard does that well. He mixes speeds, and he keeps hitters off balance, and that's what's really important to get guys out. Like Mize, I think the Phillies want a legitimate pitching prospect out of Spencer Howard. The Phillies have 3 really, really good options for the top 3 in Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, and Zach Eflin, but he'll be fighting for the 4th and 5th role along with Chase Anderson, Vince Velasquez, and Matt Moore. And I really think that Spencer Howard has a good chance to make the Phillies rotation and even contribute into a playoff run this year.
Showing some love for the former Mustang there in Howard. Well, that will do it for our predictions for some of Major League Baseball's most coveted awards. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Penn State Sports Night. For Logan Bourandas and JC Colavita, I'm Andrew Destin, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.